Hurricane Tammy is leaving the Caribbean islands. Good evening, I'm Mike Naso with this Sunday night update. It's 11 p.m. on October 22nd. Watching Hurricane Tammy on the satellite. Not looking as impressive, but still a solid Category 1 hurricane. It's moving to the northwest, and it should eventually slow down and merge with a front and bend west and become extratropical, but we're going to talk about that. We have a new invest area. This is Invest 95L, and it's sitting right here off the coastline of Nicaragua. It could develop. It's a moderate chance, kind of a 50-50 shot. If it does develop and get a name real quickly, that would be Vince. We're already down to the next storm being the V-name storm. It's been a very active hurricane season, especially because we are in an El Nino year, which usually in this basin means things are quiet. We also have a new tropical storm, Otis, off the areas there of the Gulf of Tehuantepec in Mexico, and Norma impacting areas of Mexico. We'll talk about all this. Here's the latest on Hurricane Tammy as of 11 p.m. Atlantic time. Hurricane Tammy was at 20.8 north, 64.0 west. Winds still 85 miles per hour, and it is forecast to still strengthen just a little bit, maybe to 90 miles per hour, a high-end Category 1 hurricane, and then eventually weaken and become post-tropical by the time Thursday and Friday roll around. It's moving northwest at 9. That should be more north soon, and then northeast before being left behind, merging with the trough and bending back west. Now, it could be anywhere within this cone, so Bermuda, keep an eye on it, because even if it's post-tropical, you could have some impacts. Now, here's the wind radii, and again, the tropical storm winds seem to have left the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Leeward Islands, all of the Caribbean islands. You guys are now free and clear from the wind. There's still some residual rain I'll show you in a minute, but the hurricane force winds are out over open water. Really didn't get too much except Guadeloupe and then Barbuda. You guys really got smacked, especially in Barbuda, where it made a direct landfall, and areas there, especially in any higher elevations in Barbuda. Somebody told me there's no hills or mountains to be seen. There's actually an area in Barbuda called the Barbuda Highlands. They're not very tall, don't get me wrong, but areas like that could funnel the wind more, and they had a wind gust over 89 miles an hour there in Barbuda, so it was a nasty lashing. Nothing like the 180 mile per hour Category 5 Hurricane Irma back in 2017, one of the most impressive hurricanes I ever tracked. You could look on this video page and watch those old videos of Irma. That was something else. Now here's the satellite imagery, the infrared of Hurricane Tammy, and the center is on the southern edge of this convection. Like the Hurricane Center notes, it is experiencing some wind shear, and the waters are warm, so it's kind of, every time it's going to weaken because of shear, it keeps its own because of the water temperatures, and then it's going to weaken, but the environment's moist enough. We do have these rain bands here to the south still impacting areas of the islands, so again, it could be a wet night into Monday morning, but it should clear out as the hurricane pulls towards the northwest. Here are the model guidance spaghetti model plots, and they're a little bit different than yesterday. 2 days ago, they were showing a storm moving out to sea. Then yesterday, they were showing a storm moving back west. Now they're doing what I mentioned might happen last night. They're showing it slow down enough to where even a bend back west doesn't bring it all the way to the United States. So there is still a good chance it's going to move northeast, then north, then back west, and then eventually curl around again and move out to sea when it gets kicked out by another front, if there's anything left of it. There's also a chance it weakens so much it gets caught in the low-level flow under some ridging and ends up moving. One model I looked at, I think the long-range GFS, takes it all the way here into the Caribbean. I mean, it ends up south of Mexico by early November. That would be insane. It leaves Africa, takes that track like this, loops around, ends up in Mexico. What a track, even for a weak storm. But we're going to watch this, and if you're in Bermuda especially, and even the Turks, Caicos, Bahamas, keep an eye on Tammy. The key messages for Hurricane Tammy as of 11 p.m. Number 1, heavy rain from Tammy will remain possible over the British Virgin Islands, the Leeward Islands, and the Northern Windward Islands all the way through tomorrow morning, Monday. It may produce isolated flash and urban flooding along with isolated mudslides in areas of higher terrain. Again, most of this energy is moving away. But Bermuda, you are in the wind speed probability cone there, so you need to keep an eye on it in Bermuda. Here's the long-range GFS models. Notice they take Tammy out and then bend her back west, and then kind of some of them move again out, and others move it all the way into the Gulf of Mexico, but it should remain weak regardless. Looking elsewhere for development, after our little invest area here goes into Central America, note here some more development potential in early November. Some of the models picking up on the ensembles here, something brewing. And so in the Western Caribbean and even Florida this time of year, you guys need to watch the tropics. Here's the European, same thing, showing something brewing there by the time Halloween and the first days of November roll around. You never know. I mean, the water, if conditions are favorable, these waters are still boiling hot. And I've tracked in my day many a major hurricane in October and November. So I always keep my eye on this area until we get later into November and December and things turn off until next year. Here's the satellite imagery. Again, here's Hurricane Tammy. There's still some ridging here to its east, and that's causing the motion to the northwest. Eventually, that's backing off because of this troughiness. It should eventually slow down, merge with the troughiness, and bend back west. Still some residual rainfall and a tropical wave following behind Tammy, and like I said, that could create some rain problems for the islands. There's Invest 95L, and if we zoom in here, it looks pretty impressive, but it's so close to Nicaragua that it just doesn't have time. If this here, where I just put that dot, was over here, oh, we'd have a tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane, but it just doesn't have time to develop. It's a moderate chance if it does develop, going to be very quick and move inland. The track here shows it in the next 12 to 24 hours coming ashore in Nicaragua, moving over Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, and then here south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec. It'll be interesting to see if this system moves into the Pacific and does something, but most of the models keep it over land. Tropical Storm Norma, a one-time 130-mile-an-hour Category 4 hurricane, is now a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It's at 25.0 north, 109.0 west, moving east-northeast at 5 very slowly. We still have the tropical storm conditions occurring here in that area I circled, and that's why we have a tropical storm warning all the way down the coast to Mazatlan as the tropical storm winds will impact. Norma should dissipate here over mainland Mexico by 6 o'clock tomorrow, Monday. However, still sitting offshore, the center, most of the cloud shield and moisture is all the way here, stretched to the northeast, going through Mexico, Texas, all the way into Arkansas, and getting caught up here in the frontal boundaries off the eastern seaboard there. So again, we won't have to deal with Norma. We have Otis. Otis has been hatched south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec. It's at 11.1 north, 97.3 west. Winds of 40 moving north-northwest at 5. It was looking like it was going to kind of meander out here, but the Hurricane Center ain't buying the computer models. The computer models, they think, are foolish doing that, and the Hurricane Center's forecast is for it to continue steadily northwest, but the conditions shouldn't be that favorable, so it should get to a moderate tropical storm and then kind of level off and not become a hurricane, we don't think. However, by Wednesday night, it could be making landfall along the Mexican coastline. So you had Category 4 Hurricane Lydia, you had Category 1 Hurricane Norma hit the Baja, and now you have potentially Otis striking Mexico as a tropical storm. Oh, and we had Max. So that would be Lydia, Max, Norma, and Otis. That's a sign of an El Nino year where you have a lot of later season Pacific activity that bends back towards Mexico with the fronts to the north of it weakening the ridging. And you could get some landfalls there. We'll also watch our Invest move across El Salvador and see if it does anything there. Here's a satellite imagery of Otis, and it's a tiny little thing, but it's blowing up convection. Definitely a tropical storm right now. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on Tammy and our Invest and Norma and Otis. I'll talk to you next time with more on the tropics. Stay tuned.